Hello and welcome back to Getting Started in Star Citizen. I'm Loudguns, and in today's episode we're going to be taking a look at entry-level ship mining using the Prospector. So this is the next evolution of mining from the rock cutlass combo that we took a look at. So this is going to let you break some of the larger stones out there and get into mining ores as opposed to gems. And the good news is you get to do that all from the comfort of one seat, as opposed to the get up, get out of your seat, get into a new seat, drive vehicles out of vehicles. So it should be a lot less hassle. I'll just start by saying as well, thank you to everyone who's subscribed to the channel, watched any of the videos, left any comments. It's really good fun to come back and chat to you all. So please, if you got a chance and you're finding the content useful, then just give it a subscribe, give the video a like, and let me know what you think. So with all that said, we'll get started by going to buy our Prospector. So for the second time in recent days, we're back at New Deal in Lawville. So I feel like I should get a loyalty card for this place. So yeah, the Prospector conveniently is that ship right there. So we can go and buy it off the terminals, but we can also just come and take a quick look at it. So as you see, it's got a nice mining laser on the front that's controlled from the pilot's seat, and you can just hold F, and there it is. We can buy that for 2,061,000 credits. Now, I'd recommend you just have a bit more money than this, sort of probably another 100k or so, because we go buy some other parts of the mining shop. So there's quite a lot of information to keep track of when you're mining, so I'm going to go over it quite quickly, but what I have put together is this, which is my org's mining quick reference guide, just to get as much of the information onto one sheet that you can sort of put up in a second tab or have on a phone or a tablet or print off to keep by you while you're out mining. So I guess the first thing to look at here is the mining laser heads. So there are 6 in total. Your Prospector comes stocked with an arbor. First thing to get out of the way is that you'll see all mining heads come in MH1 and MH2, and that indicates the size. Prospectors can only fit a size 1 laser. Moles take a size 2. The rock cannot fit any of these lasers, so don't go buy one to try and stick on your rock. The only real difference between size 1 and size 2 lasers is range at the moment in 3.12. That might change going forward because quite a lot of people are complaining that it's a bit ridiculous. You know, giant laser, only thing it does better than the small laser is a bit of range. But for now, that's the only thing. So with a Prospector, you might have to get closer into whatever you're trying to mine to get it to effectively work. So the other things that they do is they create a series of sort of buffs and debuffs to make mining easier. So if you equip a specific laser for a specific job. Now, there are 5 that you can change your laser out for. The 2 that I recommend looking at are the Helix and the Lancet. The Helix is basically, it used to be the one-stop shop. All these lasers, but everybody just bought a Helix. And that was because it was the most powerful. So it's still pretty powerful, but they've nerfed that a bit. But what it does is it does reduce instability and resistance. So rocks have these 2 stats, determining how stable and how resistant they are. Now, high instability, high resistance makes it trickier to mine. So the fact that it reduces those stats is good for us. The Helix also increases all charge rates, so that means increases the speed at which it charges when you're in that optimal zone, the green zone, like we saw on the rock mining. But you have to watch out with the Helix because it will also charge quicker in the red zone, so it can overcharge more quickly. The Helix also increases the optimal window, so the optimal window is that green zone. So that gets physically bigger, making it easier to stay within. Now, a couple of big downsides on the Helix. It's got this thing called the throttle delay, so it's less responsive than other lasers. So you scroll your mouse wheel and it's just going to take a bit more time to actually catch up with that, which can be tricky, particularly when we've got sort of servers experiencing desync. It also increases the shatter damage. So if you blow the rock up with a Helix laser versus, say, your standard Arbor, that's going to do more damage to you. So more chance that you can go kaboom. So the Helix is the one that I recommend if you're looking to crack bigger rocks. When I say bigger rocks, you've got to factor in mass into, so you pick this up on your scanning when you look at a stone. They're different sizes. They come in different sizes, and if you're looking for bigger ones, sort of, I'd probably say upwards of 5,000. Then the Helix is the laser for you. Is probably the one that's going to crack those the best. The other one to look at is the Lancet, which is widely regarded as a support laser, but actually it's very good on its own. This does huge reductions to instability and resistance, so dropping them by 75% each, which is massive. It also, compared to the sort of throttle delay of the Helix, has an improved throttle speed time, and increases that optimal window by 40%. Now the trade-offs are that it suffers from a lower charge rate, so you're gonna have to stay in the green zone longer. Flip side, it should be easier too. And it also suffers from one of the weakest, if not the weakest, power rating of all the lasers. Now I've personally found that the Lancet is still good for cracking rocks up to 5,000-ish mass. So there will undoubtedly be some rocks that you come across which you just can't crack with the Lancet, but it's still a very good laser. And if you go on after this to look at like my Quantanium mining videos, the Lancet is the one that I always recommend for Quantanium. One thing to factor in if you're playing with some mates is that the effects of the lasers stack on top of each other. So if you've got another friend who's picking up a Prospector at the same time, what you might want to do is one of you buy a Helix, one of you buy a Lancet, and actually layering those two effects is probably the best combination of two lasers that I've found out there. So the other one to consider while we're looking to go to the shops, we'll come on to some of the other stuff a bit later in the video, is mining consumables. So you'll see that the lasers all have consumable slots. So one of the other reasons I recommend the Helix and the Lancet is that you get 3, as opposed to the 1 that comes in your stock Arbor laser and the 2 that are on some of the others. So the consumables are, well, sort of what they say on the tin there. They're additions that you can add to the laser that have charges. You fire off a charge and it will add a series of buffs and debuffs to the mining process for a specific amount of time. So sort of these last for 90 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. So if we just look at sort of Brant, for example, that is a further sort of reduces instability minus 75%, but also reduces the charge rate. So it's going to take you longer to crack it, but it's going to be a lot more stable while you do it. Now, I would suggest that you basically buy all of these and try and find combinations which work for you. When you're starting out in mining, I think sort of one to really consider taking in one slot is the Lifeline. that's basically the save your ass consumable. If you send a rock into the red, there's no chance that you get away from it. You can pop a lifeline, and it will reduce the charge rates very quickly and decrease shatter damage. So if that rock still blows up, it's going to really take the punch out of it. However, when you're more confident, that's probably a wasted slot. Like, once you get some experience of doing it, sort of catastrophic charges of rocks are fairly rare. The ones I'm probably going to roll out with are Surge, which you fire at the start and it will do a great deal of the charge. Optimum, which just increases the charge window. So if you've got particularly tricky pieces to break, having a 75% increase in the charge window can really help. And Brant, which is just a big reduction of instability. So cool. So with that, we'll just go back to the mining shop, and we'll see where we can actually buy these things. So I would recommend coming to either Crew L1 or Her L2. Her L2 will be closer to your pickup in Lawville for your prospector. These stations have refinery decks where you can find the mining support centres. That's where we rented the rock and the cutlass for, so you should be familiar with it. But these also sell things like the mining lasers. If you go to the terminal, conveniently says clothing, you'll find under MISC that you've got mining laser heads here. So there's the Helix 1 mining laser. Make sure you pick up that 1 version, not the Helix 2. So we'll have one of those. But from this shop you can also buy the Lancet. Now if you've got the cash, I'd just buy both of these. They're the two for the different jobs that I'd recommend. I'd recommend just trying both of these out. If you're desperately short on cash, I would just buy the Lancet first and go looking for some smaller rocks. But there are other mining lasers that you can try, and if you want to go for them, then go for them. Just again, make sure you go for those ones. You can also buy a selection of the mining consumables. Now, what I have found is that mining consumables, you might have to travel around a bit, try the different refineries, try some Dumpers Depot on Port Olisar is pretty good for picking up a big variety of the mining consumables. So like we did in the last video, to do our outfitting, we go to the vehicle loadout manager and select our prospector. Under weapon, that's where we refit our mining laser, so let's just add that Helix. Then the sub-item slots will appear. That's your 3 consumable slots. So you just click the Surge, for example, save changes and equip, and then that one's on there. Like I say, I really recommend you sort of go around and look at some of these other consumables and just get a feel for their different effects. I'm gonna load in my Brant, and I think 3rd slot I'm gonna go for the Optimum. Now that's all you need to upgrade to actually get going cracking rocks. I'm just gonna upgrade my QT drive just to make jumps a bit quicker. I will link a build made by a guy called Nexion at UEMC that I picked up from a Super Mac Brothers video, credit where credit's due, that helps to reduce your signature to make you harder to find, but that's all you need for now. And now that we've got it all kitted out and ready, we can finally get our prospector out on the pad. So yeah, the laser's just below the pilot, so pilot controls the laser without having to get out of the seat. Jump in through this side door, you get the ladder come down. And there's a bed in the back, so you can, if it works and doesn't crash your game, log out from bed if you need to leave mid mining trip, and you just jump into the chair at the front. So I guess we'll power up and start thinking about a good place to go to mine. So one thing we need to probably consider is what we're after. So I'll just load up the materials list while we get going. So you'll see that the different materials are worth different values. So what I recommend here is going just for materials which are in that green zone. Hephaestonite is the one that it's a struggle. Do we pick it up? Do we not? I'd probably recommend just going for mining stuff in the green. Now, what you can do is take a look on SC Trade Tools, and they've got a really good commodities section which will show you, if you target a specific mineable, where the best place to go is. So Quantanium is definitely worth chatting about. It's the most valuable material, but at the same time it's much trickier to mine. So what I'd recommend is mine something else for now. Then I've got some specific videos on solo Quantanium mining, which you can just find on my channel. So once you're comfortable with just the mining process overall by mining some of the other stuff, move on to Quantanium. The problem with Quantanium is it blows up if you're not quick enough. So yeah. So for the time being, we're going to go to Aberdeen, one of the moons around Hurston, because it's nice and close, and it's got great density of all of the other stuff that isn't Quantanium. So we'll jump forward a bit to when I get down to the planet's surface properly, and we'll see what we can find. So as we descend into the smoggy atmosphere of Aberdeen, this is one of the places I probably wouldn't come on holiday. Keep in mind that the Prospector's got VTOL, so you can remember switch that around with K. That just makes sort of maintaining altitude, particularly if you're in these planets, much easier. So to switch to the scanning mode, just press Tab, and we let out a scan there by holding down the right click and charging it up. So I'm going to ignore that one rock that's appeared because that's too easy, and focus on the grid ahead of me. So what you want to do is, in scanning mode, sort of let off scans, and as you get closer, don't keep scanning at 100%. Scan sort of to find it at 100%, start moving towards the grid, and then let off smaller scans. If you get too close and you're still doing 100% scans, your scans will be overpowered and will go through. Then when you get a bit closer, you'll start to see the rocks themselves actually appear there as those icons. And one other little thing on the scanning, make sure you set to 2 times. Once you've found something, that stops the stuff underneath you coming up. Once you get close in and you can see it, target the rock and then hold down left mouse button to do a full scan. So we can see that this one contains Terranite, which is good, but it's only got 1%, that's in the first line below it. Worth focusing on the 2 numbers there. The 1% is the content of the rock. The 2.95% is the amount of rock that 1% appears within. So ideally what we want is a high number on the left, indicating a high proportion of the material that we really want, the most valuable one always at the top. And then we want as low as possible a number on the right hand side, because that'll indicate that appears in as little of the rock as we like. Now, even though both of those rocks had valuable materials in that green zone that we talked about, the quantities were just too low for me to stop and worry about. So I want to break as few rocks as possible to get my prospector full of valuable materials. So we don't want to go around breaking 1%, 3% rocks. Ideally, I'll tend to look for something over 20%. And I think it's better to take the time scanning rather than a lot of time breaking low percentage rocks. So bear in mind, like the big thing about the prospector is you should be prospecting. You should be looking to take home as full a possible cargo of valuable materials as you can. So you don't want to bring home, if you can, any inert materials, any just dirt. And what you will see is that the rocks might contain something valuable like agresium there, but also beryl and tungsten, which are trash. So we want to avoid taking home as much trash as we can, while taking home as much good material that's going to be valuable to us. So there you go. So because I've set that scanner to 2 times, I'm not getting the boxes come up behind me. You just find that if you left your scanner at 1 times, and then I'm just, as I get closer, letting off very low power scans, and that's where the boxes sort of zone in, zero in on the thing. So there we go. So that's Bexolite, which is on our list, 20.91%. So I think this is a good candidate to mine. So it's also got some Hephaestonite and some corundum. So we're going to mine this by switching to our mining mode. That's pressing M. That brings out the mining laser. And then if you just hold the crosshair on the rock, it performs a more detailed scan, and that's where you get the green zone. Turn the mining laser on by left clicking and scroll up on the mouse wheel to get that to 100. Now you want to get nice and close in to the rock. Don't forget to take a screenshot for the YouTube thumbnail. I'm getting better at this malarkey. If you're struggling to get that charge going in, then just nudge a bit closer. So we can see this rock's mass is 4,159, so it's not too big. The helix will power through that. I didn't need to use my my surge consumable to power that up quickly. It's charging pretty fast for us here. And just as we get towards that green zone, start thinking about dropping the power, because we don't want to overshoot, and just bear in mind that the helix laser has that throttle delay. So now some people I see go right up towards the top of the green and then they let it off. I personally, with all the problems around sort of server lag and desync, combined with the throttle delay on the helix laser, I'm much more inclined to start coming off a bit early, which saved me there. If you do get into trouble, just bear in mind that with another left click you can turn the laser off. So now, unlike with the rock mining where you just split it once and you get the gems, these rocks go into a number of different pieces. The yellow outline indicates it needs to be broken again. The purple outline means that it's extractable, so that's a great piece that we got there, 100% Bexolite, and it's already extractable. But we're going to take a look around these to see. So that's a good one, 93.4% Bexolite. So this we're going to do a secondary break on. So this rock's split pretty much ideally. I mean, we've got all the Bexolite in 2 pieces, and that's what we really want. Because this is going to mean that if we can break this one, and then we'll extract just that 100% Bexolite, and we'll probably extract most of the pieces from this. That means that we'll just be filling our cargo hold with practically all Bexolite, a little bit of Hephaestonite here, and no inert materials. Inert materials just, I mean, they're worth something, but it's pennies. So we really don't want to take any of that home if we can help it. every gram of inert material is hurting your profit from your run. So it's worth not just grabbing everything you can from the rock that you break. It's better to pick out some of the stuff. So to make that piece easy, because as you can see the optimal zone there was a bit narrow. What I did there was I used my Brant consumable. Now you can do that by holding down Alt and pressing 1, 2 or 3. So my Surge is on 1, my Brant's on 2, my Optimum's on 3. There are inner thought ways to do it, but use the shortcuts, much easier. So once you've got your breaks done, you right click to change your mining laser to extraction mode. You'll see that at the top, you've got mining mode and extraction mode. And once you're happy that what you're looking at is what you want to extract, just left click to turn it on, and you'll see it's got a different animation. So just be careful if you don't see that animation, because what you don't want to do is fire your mining laser on mining mode into these small rocks. You'll just blow them up and say goodbye to your money. On the right hand side I've got my cargo, so you'll see I've currently got just going over 12, 13 SCU of Bexolite, and that bit of Hephaestonite that we picked up. So yeah, nearly 15 SCUs of Bexolite, so that's good. We're about half full, so we're probably gonna just get out there and scan around a bit to find another rock, hopefully, that will fill us up. Now you just saw I ignored that smaller grid that appeared. Those smaller ones will be gems, not the rocks that we're looking for, and you can't mine gems in the Prospector. So in the interest of time, I'll just skip forward to whenever I manage to find something else worth mining. So we've got another good candidate here. 29% Agricium, 14% Laranite, so can start cracking this one. So again, 3,300 mass, so we're not going to need that surge. I'd just use those surges on, keep it for the big rocks. So sort of something that's 5,000 plus, I'd probably use the surge on, and it can just improve your timing for mining runs. That mining difficulty comes up quite a lot, telling you to give up the ghost and go and get some help or try mining a smaller rock. Now, a lot of the time it's a bit overzealous in my opinion. You can just ignore it, because as you see, this rock is more than possible to crack solo. So there we go. I just dropped that optimum consumable. That window was quite small, particularly with the helix laser. Just having a bit of trouble there, sort of keeping it all in the green, so just use that consumable to get a nice break there. So we search around these pieces and we scan for the best. That's a goodie, 100% Agricium. And it's the same process as before. So what you're looking for is the pieces containing the highest amounts of good mats. So that's nearly 100% Laranites. We'll take that straight away because the Laranite's worth more than the Agricium. So you just want to sort of rate your finds like that. So make sure you take home as much of the more valuable materials as you can. So yeah, this is all the same as with the Bexolite rock that we did. So we'll scan and look for these pieces. Once you're confident you've found the ones which are the best to break them, and then we'll make sure we get full up. So a little jump forward in time here. See, I've got to the point where I've got my cargo full, so pretty much all full of Bexolite, Agricium, Laranite, tiny bit of Hephaestonite, but importantly no inert materials, no low value stuff like aluminium or titanium. So with that done, we'll sort of aim ourselves upwards, get a bit of height hit the K button to switch our VTOL, so our thrusters are pushing us up out of Atmo at Aberdeen. And when we're confident that we're going up and we're headed towards space, we'll start thinking about where to go next. So we need to look for a refinery. So the closest one I've got here is L1. So I guess we'll head there. Worth just putting you back in the direction of the quick reference guide. So when you're refining the ore that you've mined, it's worth just considering different refineries give bonuses and have negative implications for certain ore types. So you'll see in the list of valuable materials, you'll see which refineries offer a positive modifier and which offer a negative. So if you're full of a certain type of material, then it's worth finding a refinery that will give you a positive, and certainly avoiding the ones which have a negative impact on the yield that you get out. So once we reach the refinery deck itself, we sort of follow our way, same way we went towards the mining supply shop, but rather than turning right into the support center itself, we'll go up these steps and into this office at the top. So we've got two sets of terminals, ore sales and refinement processing. So if we come to ore sales first, what we can do is, if we select a location, select our MISC Prospector, you'll see the mats, and you'll see that we can just sell this unrefined for 56,721. So that's not bad for something which took us sort of half an hour or so. But if we come over to this station, this is where we can refine the goods. So we'll click begin, select our location, and set up work order. So then that brings up the job, and we can click these buttons here to select what we want to actually refine. Now the Hephaestonite is questionable because it's not much, and what we are going to have to factor in is that we're going to have to transport this. So it's debatable whether you should refine the stuff. So if we just get a quote for the Cornac method, then we'll see the yields that we get out. Now, I've included all the refining methods in the reference guide. They vary in terms of the speed, the cost, and the yield. So the one that I recommend is Dinnick Solvention, and that takes the longest out of all of them. As we'll see, but at the same time it's very cheap and it yields a very high amount. So you see under the Cornac that we lost quite a decent portion of our haul, and that's why I would recommend patience in mining. What you can do is go and stack up lots of jobs, so you don't have to sit around and wait for this. The processing time that it gives you is in real time. So get a load loaded up. Let's just get a quote on that, and so that's going to take 1 day and 7 hours. But I'm at work for a lot of that time, so that's not going to bother me. So what I'd do here is I'd stack up a number of jobs, but it's 2,600 credits, which is quite a big difference, and I get to keep an awful lot more of my my haul. So that's now ticking away. Given that it will take 1 day and 7 hours to process, and I'm a child of the Blue Peter generation, I think we'll do a bit of a here's one I made earlier, so I can show you the rest of this process. So I think here at Crew L1 I should have some jobs complete of some Quantanium that I mined earlier, so I just come in again, use, and there are 2 completed work orders. So these runs are the ones which are done. So you have to select a location. Now some people get a bit confused about, they use their Prospector, which has got 32 SCUs of cargo space, and then they can't work out where to put it. If you go and make use of refining, you do need a cargo ship. So I'm going to stick this into my MSR. What you can do, and what I would recommend, stack up a number of jobs. If you don't own a cargo ship with decent carrying capacity, stack up a number of jobs and then rent a freelancer to shift them. But make sure you've got a decent number of jobs stacked up to make it worthwhile to rent that ship. So now we've got it all loaded onto our cargo ship, we can sort of take a look in the back, and the cargo hold is completely empty. Don't worry, this is a bug. The visual representation of refinery jobs is just a bug. Your cargo is there, it's on the ship. So what we need to do is just jump in and set a course for any major landing zones. So that's Lorville, Area 18 on ArcCorp, or New Babbage on Microtech. So the trade and development divisions on the major landing zones are the only places that you can sell refined goods. So it is worth just factoring in that you'll need to either rent a cargo ship or save up for one. It might be worth selling unrefined until you can buy a cargo ship. One I heartily recommend for miners is the Freelancer Max. That is a great ship. If we come to these consoles, we click sell, and we find our ship in the list of sources. There's our mining materials, sell, and we'll see how much our total value is. One thing that might happen is you've got sort of server ticks, which if you haven't seen it, I covered in the video on trading. If you're selling quite a lot of a material, then you might just have to factor in that you might have to sell it in a number of goes. It might not have the inventory to buy all of your material off you in one go. So I did that with Quantanium, but it is the same for anything that you refine. So that's it for prospector mining and refining. It was a bit of a whistle-stop tour, I know, but I hope that the quick reference guide will help you out a bit as well. And if you haven't already, please consider dropping a subscribe to the channel. As long as people find this useful, I'm going to keep making it. This is nearly the end of what I'd consider our target for the starter guide. I've got one more episode planned where we'll look probably at sort of careers and things which aren't in the game yet, but that might be something that you can look forward to, because I know that sort of we've focused in on mining, trading, and a bit of bounty hunting, because those are the most developed game loops up until now. So what I will just delve in on is maybe some stuff which isn't so developed or is in the pipeline, so that you can maybe consider things that you might like to do in the future. So if you are brand new, considering picking up Star Citizen, maybe just watching these videos as to see if it's for you, then if you do decide to buy a game package, please consider using my referral code. I'll pop it up on screen, but it'll also be in the video description below. It will give you an extra 5,000 UEC to help you in starting out, and it helps me out too. So with that all said, thanks very much for watching, and I hope I'll see you in the next one. Bye.